Hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages, the Bug Life here, and welcome to 100 Days in the Minecraft Multiverse. For those who aren't aware about what the 100 Days in Minecraft phenomena is, it is essentially a person playing and surviving in a Minecraft world for 100 in-game days. Now, a lot of people branched off into their own takes of this genre, and my take centers around the multiverse of Marvel, DC, and mythology of all types. I have 3 goals for this series: get the Infinity Gauntlet, make 5 superhero suits, and make a cool house that I'm actually proud of. Also, if this video gets 20 likes, we will do a part 2. But enough blabbering, let's get into the multiverse. So day 1. Yes, I started with a bonus chest, so sue me. After looting the chest, I had a lot of instructions for superhero suits, mainly suits from the Flash universe. These will be used later in the series. Apart from that, I went to get better tools, because Lord knows I'm going to need them. I got stone tools, then I killed a lot of pigs because I need a lot of food to survive. I found a cave later on, got some iron, lost a lot of health, healed up, then went to bed. Next day, I decided I was just gonna go for it all. I cooked all the food I got the previous day, and I went into a cave I had seen previously. In that cave, besides the normal stuff, like iron, coal, all that, I found a skeleton spawner, which I attempted to take care of with no shield and armor. Let's get rid of that. Oh, hello. After that awful experience, I got even more instructions to also use later for superhero suits. I went to find a place to put up my home after, and I found a really cool place. Oh! Okay, I think this might be where we reside. I set up some chests, built a little starter house, and slept for the night. Day 3 and 4 were the most frustrating days in the entire 100 days. Now, in this mod pack, there is a lot of mods, but one of those mods, the superhero mod, adds radiation and uranium. Now, uranium deals damage to you when you're in close proximity to it. So on these days, I decided to make a ladder system down to Y11 because obviously diamonds spawn there. Now, like I said, I forgot that uranium spawns everywhere underground and does damage to you, and the rest of day 3 and 4 consisted of me dying over and over and over again. Day 5, I did some cleaning up, building, and then I decided to go for an adventure. Now in one of these superhero mods, there is a lot of things that can spawn throughout the world, such as Kryptonian ships, Kryptonian meteors, Kree ships, and the thing that I was looking for on this adventure was a Norse village. Now, a Norse village has a Norse church, and that church sometimes spawns, it always spawns a tree in the church, and behind that, sometimes the Tesseract can spawn. Now, this was my first step into finding all the stones and getting the Infinity Gauntlet. Now, sadly, in the Norse village that I found, I did not find the Tesseract, but I did find some chests in the houses that had part of Thor's armor in it, which was really, really cool, because that would be the first of 5 or more suits that I was going to achieve and use in these 100 days. Oh, we got it! Thor's chest plate! Day 6, I did a bit of researching through the mod Just Enough items, where you can look at recipes and things. So I researched some things about superhero items, and then I started to make some more advanced food, because normal food doesn't do a lot. So I started to gather and place dirt for a farm to get wheat to make dough to make bread. Day 7 was a farming and building day. I gathered a lot of new wood in this mod pack called Redwood. It's a really cool color and I really enjoyed it, and it looks kind of like acacia but a little bit better. I decided to make a redwood outline for my farm, supports, and roof. To finish it off, I planted a little bit of wheat to end off the day. Day 8 and 9, I grew some balls, and I went back into the mines. I went mining for 2 days, and I found a lot of cool ores I needed, and I actually got a few diamonds. At the end of the 2 days, I wanted to see if I had enough material to make Iron Man's Mark III, I believe, armor. But little did I know, I was nowhere near to getting it. Day 10 and 11, I decided to do a crap ton of building in my base. I finished up the roof for the farm, and I began the construction of the main floor of my base. There was a crap ton of rain, but I braved through it, and I almost completed the first floor of my house, which, in my opinion, after this 100 days, is the best house that I've made in Minecraft. So days 12 through 14, I decided to go on another even longer adventure. I started off by boating around the island I came to my base at, and then I went through many cool and diverse biomes I've never seen before and are here because of the Biomes of Plenty mod that is a fantastic mod. I found another Norse village, I found a meteor site, and a bamboo forest, and then I made my way home, but the footage got corrupted. So for the next whopping 10 days, I continued to work on the first and second floor of the main base of operations. I used a building technique where I did a circular, it was like a somewhat circular shape, and then shrinking as it goes up, putting glass between the pillars, and having each floor dedicated to something in and of itself. Later, I would change these to white dyed glass, but right now I stuck with normal glass. And I just repeated the same design upwards, but smaller each time, and it made a lot of progress on the main floor of my house and the second floor of my house. The next couple days, I completed my main base. I continued with the same strategy I used on the other floors, added ladders to each floor, and then moved my items into the chests in the house. I was so happy to have completed one of my three main goals of the 100 days, to make a house I was proud of, and I went to bed on day 28, very, very happy. Day 29, I went back to mining. I got a lot of good materials I needed for a bunch of superhero suits, among other things, and I began to think about what I wanted my first superhero suit to be, and the next day, I began the adventure to gather even more materials for the first superhero suit. Day 30 was the day where I gathered a bunch of materials for my first superhero suit. I made a bunch of iron plates, which are used to make tripolymer, which is used to make a lot of the suits in the superhero mod that we have. Then I went and killed a crap ton of cows, went for a little adventure to get some dyes I needed for the tripolymer, and I think, by the dyes I'm getting, you hardcore superhero fans can probably guess which suit I'm getting. I then went back home, and then went to bed. After 30 days, I finally had the things I needed to begin my superhero roster assembly. I began crafting the items I needed, and I eventually got the Flash suit. Now, the suit itself doesn't give you powers, but what it does do is it can be manually taken on and off by pressing a button on your keyboard. And a cool animation that is really comic accurate shows when the suit's ejected from the ring, which is also comic accurate. At the end of the day, I was so excited to wear the suit that I actually ended up sleeping in it. Days 32 to 35 started off pretty crappy with a crash. Wasn't the greatest start to the day, but for some reason, that's what made me realize I needed more and better food. Don't ask me why, because I don't know. So for the next 4 days, I researched and gathered food to make bacon cheeseburgers, since that's my favorite food in real life. These days were full of researching, killing and milking cows, killing pigs, getting wheat, and getting water. But in the end, I ended up getting an entire stack of bacon cheeseburgers, which give 5 hunger bars each. Day 36 was the day I braved it, and I went into the nether. I got the obsidian that I needed for the portal, built the portal, listened to some hype music, and looked at what I needed from the nether. Then I went in, and 2 seconds later, I shat my pants, and I left the nether. This was the day I lost everything. I thought I was being smart. When I went mining, I even made a loot pet to auto-smelt my ores and double ore drops when mining. But I came across a red liquid, and I got a little bit too curious. Little did I know that below this liquid was a much less friendly liquid, which you all know as lava. I then reconsidered my life's choices, and basically had to get all of my items back from the past 10 days. The next day, I attempted to at least somewhat replenish the items I got in the past 10 days. I made a really scuffed armor that was almost worse than leather armor, tried to get some of my stuff back. I wasn't very successful, and I went to bed a teeny tiny little bit happier because I got at least a couple things back. On days 39 and 40, I made another loot pet so I could get more ores without smelting them, and I got a metric ton of bread, went mining, and then I actually got a decent headway in the injection aspect of the superheroes mod. The next day, I made a few machines. I made a generator, a fluid transposer, and a magma crucible. These would later be used for superhero injections to become a lot of different superheroes. This day was the greatest day of them all, for I became the funny great man, Josh Thanos. The recipe for it was actually pretty easy. I just needed purple dye and an injection. I used it, and I became the funny man. Day 43 was one of the most boring days of the 100 days. I just did research on how to use one machine, and it turns out I just needed a crank. After I used the crank, I got some pulverized obsidian and copper for future machines I needed, and I actually needed the obsidian for hardened glass to make those machines later down the line. In day 44 and 45, I went back into the mines. And then I organized my chests, went mining again, organized my chests, then went mining. The next day, I mined a bunch of sand that I needed for the best storage items in the game, the crystal chests, which are basically 2 double chests that are see-through that fit into one like chest block. And then I smelted all the glass, I made those crystal chests, which I actually forgot to place. And yeah, the next day I actually placed them, made some new chests, the crystal chests that I mentioned. And then I broke all the chests to make more. It was really confusing, but in the end, I organized everything and continued to the next day, happier than the day before. Today was a very exciting day, because I was getting the Flash's superpowers. I looked it up, and I needed lava, injections, and blaze powder, which I did find. One thing that I did forget at the time is that it's not always like a surefire, a surefire thing, that the injection... Well, like, when you put the injection in the blaze rods or whatever the ingredient may be, it doesn't always work the first time, and I didn't realize that, so I forgot that, and I only got, like, one of each. I tried it, failed, and I had to go back into the nether, but then I finally got the drugs, and I went really fast. Ladies and gentlemen, today is the day. More superhero suits time. Woohoo! The second suit I decided to make was actually one of my favorite characters in the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Star-Lord. I looked at the recipe and it didn't seem too difficult, but there were a couple things that I needed to get on the next day, and I didn't have enough time in that day to get the rest of it done. But I made the helmet today, and then I made some capacitors for like the rocket boots or whatever they are. But you guys will have to wait to see what it looks like on me. Now, this is probably the biggest chunk that was all in like one little recording. This segment of the 100 Days was the most unexpected and the greatest thing that happened in this series. I was going on an adventure to maybe get Thor's armor again, finding those Norse villages that I mentioned previous. And I found a Norse church. I went into the church, and I looked behind the tree just to see if something was there. And there it was, the Tesseract itself. I got so excited, I got the space stone and then accidentally sent myself to Asgard, and there were so many ores and blocks of diamond and everything. I got a little bit, then went back home with my first Infinity Stone. On day 66, I went and got a lot more materials for superhero suits again, but mostly for the rest of the Star-Lord armor. I made the chest plate, the leggings, and the boots, and I found out that with the Star-Lord suit, I can at least kinda fly. I was so happy with this being my second suit, and I was so excited to make even more. The next day, I looked at recipes for the Ant-Man suit, because Ant-Man is yet again one of my favorite MCU superheroes. I then went through the whole process of getting back my bacon cheeseburgers, because as y'all know, I lost all of that back on day 37. I got 40 burgers, and then I psyched myself up for another mining trip the next day, hoping to notch that I would not die from freaking radiation yet again. Days 68 to 70, I went on a pretty long mining trip to get materials for the Ant-Man suit. I needed a lot of tripolymers as well, but I would worry about that later. After the mining session, I looked at a few of the recipes for Ant-Man's armor, and I realized I had a lot of work ahead of me. Finally, today was the day I began to make Ant-Man's armor. With the more mechanical suits, there tends to be more items needed to be crafted to make items, to make items, to make more items, to make items, to make items for the final item, and so on. At the end of the day, I made some tripolymer, and I made the first part of Ant-Man's suit, Ant-Man's helmet. The next 2 days, I went looking for even more materials to complete the Ant-Man armor. I know, I do a lot of gathering of materials in this 100 days. I went and got a bunch of dyes, I made even more tripolymer, made a regulator, a ton of capacitors, and then I crafted all the armor. I could even take the suit's helmet on and off, but I did not have the ability to shrink and grow yet because I didn't really know how to add PIM particles to my suit. Day 74 was another one of those generic mining days, so I think I'm gonna do a bit of a time lapse for this day. Day 75 was a mix of a few things. I looked at recipes for the Super Soldier Serum, Super Soldier Serum, which is basically what gives Captain America his powers. I went adventuring again, and then I went mining, yet a freaking again. So for the next whopping 4 days, I gathered and used some weird and diverse materials to make the Super Soldier Serum. I then crafted it with a boiler, and then I officially got my third superpower injection. So from day 81 to 84, in these days, I went for a very worthwhile adventure. I went to a village to find a laboratory, which sometimes spawns radioactive spiders, which, as you can guess, gives me Spider-Man's powers. What I had to do was I had to get bit by one of them, and I did so. And then once I used an injection to get the powers out of my system, then I got Spider-Man's suit instructions. I then used the instructions to make Spider-Man's homemade suit from Spider-Man Homecoming. Actually, in the same 4 days, I also got my 5th and final superpower of the 100 days. And that is Firestorm's powers. Basically, Firestorm is a hero that can, shoot fire. Yeah. But the good thing with this is I finally got the ability to fly, but little did I know I could actually fly the exact same way with Star-Lord's rocket boots. In the last days, I prepared to fight the Ender Dragon. I gathered the best powers and armor and weapons that I had, and the best powers that I chose was the Super Soldier Serum because it gave me more hearts, resistance, strength, speed, fall damage resistance, even though Star-Lord's armor gave me that. And the weapon I used was the weapon that I used for the better part of the entire series. And then since I have the Space Stone, I didn't even have to get Eyes of Ender, and I used it to get to the end, and then the fight began. Day 100. This is it. The final day where we take on the most fabled boss of Minecraft, the Ender Dragon. To be honest, the sword I've used for, like I said, the better part of 70 days to the entire series, didn't do as much damage to the dragon as I thought it would, but I got rid of all the crystals, and I completely annihilated the Ender Dragon. After that, I went into the portal, went home, and I took my final look at the base I had created. And though I begun in this multiverse with barely anything, I ended with a really cool base, an Infinity Stone that Loki wasn't even able to keep, the ability to fly, and my own custom superhero team, and because it's the multiverse, I combined Marvel and DC together to create the Bugvengers. Yeah. So with that being said, if you guys did enjoy this 100 days in Minecraft Multiverse and you want to see 200 days, hit that like button, and at 20 likes I will do 200 days. This took 2 weeks to do, record, editing, dubbing, all that. So please hit the like button. I worked really hard on this. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you do, or if you did enjoy it, leave a comment just saying, hey, enjoyed the video. And if you didn't, well then, give some constructive criticism. But until next time, you know what to do. You know how to do it, so do it. Like, comment, subscribe. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, peace and love, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye, guys!